If you like this channel, there is most likely a 100% probability that you also follow Tim Ferriss. Lately, he had a podcast on with gymnastics coach Christopher Sommer. It was really interesting, but since it was an audio format and they talked a lot about specific movements, it was kind of hard to get a visual of what they're talking about, even though they described it. So out of my own curiosity, I looked up a lot of the movements. And in this video, I took excerpts from the interview where they talk about specific movements, and then I put the visual of what the actual movement is on top of the audio, so you can actually see what they're talking about. For the full link to the interview, which I encourage you to listen to, check out in the description below. I hope you find this video useful and that it adds another layer to the interview with Coach Christopher Sommer and Tim Ferriss.
Which movements or exercises give you the most data?
Most bang for the buck. Hanging leg lift. Mm-hmm. So hanging leg lift automatically is going to tell me dynamic range of motion. It's going to tell us your core strength, and it's going to tell me hamstring flexibility. Bridge is a huge one for adults. The lumbar, the lower back, is not designed to have a ton of movement in it, a big arch. Your thoracic spine, your upper and your middle back, they're designed to have a lot of movement. They're designed to rotate.
Pike Pulses. And so I'll explain what this is to folks, because he was kind of laughing at me and he's like, what kind of Jane Fonda bullshit are you doing here? You know, and
I love that name.
But that compression, it's, if you think about the range of motion that most people train for core, yes, they're doing sit-ups, or maybe they're doing hanging leg lifts up to like an L sit, right? So their legs are getting up to kind of parallel height. Well, that last 90 degrees, and especially the last like 45 degrees where you're bringing your thighs towards your chest, is so hard. I mean, I had zero strength there prior to doing just a few weeks of this stuff, which just amazed me. Jefferson Curl. And
yeah, they're having some fun with that. We have done Jefferson curls, I don't know, 12, 15 years now. Expected standard is body weight for us.
Note to people listening, do not try this with body weight right out of the gate.
No, don't.
If you had to pick, say, 3 to 5 movements or exercises or stretches for addressing the most common deficiencies, like getting those joints back into play, what would some of your selections be?
So just for joint, I think we'd put Jefferson curl at top of the list. Even if that was all you did, right? And you just did Jefferson curl, a lot of aches and pains are going to go away because of that. Mm-hmm. I'd throw elevated bridge in there if arm strength was sufficient to handle it. Perfect press handstand. So I'm just trying to keep it simple, right? Hands on the floor, shoulders over the hands, using that middle back, those traps, pull the hips up on top of the shoulder, maintain that flat back position. Then we continue on with lower back, finishing the legs up to the handstand. So I'm gonna piss off yoga. I'm gonna piss off yoga right now. So I once had, and I like yoga, don't get me wrong, but their approach to handstand is flawed. And here's how we evaluate it. A gymnastics handstand, right, done with nice flat back, nice, and all being a smart ass aside, right? We're going to look at it just from a purely practical viewpoint. Which one leads somewhere? So if I do a yoga type handstand with that arch and the flex shoulders, I'm not going any farther than that. I can work on duration. I can do some other things, but I'm not going any further. If I do a gymnastics handstand where it's flat, now I have nice range of motion in the shoulders. I have strength through the middle back, through the traps, right? I've got good core strength. I've got good compression strength. Now I can move on to good press handstand work. Why? Well, we want to get stronger. That in turn allows me to go on, if I'm in the mood and I want to do more, I can go into more advanced one-arm handstand work, pirouetting work. All those things are results of a proper, nice straight line handstand that you can't do with the flawed approach. It's not aesthetics. It's being practical.
How much of the musculature in the upper arms, biceps specifically, comes from straight arm work versus some form of bent arm work?
The majority of the massive biceps they see is going to come from the straight arm work. All rope climbs are done with no legs. Okay. In GST, we do ropes without legs. Nothing put better mass on a bicep secondary from the ring strength than high volume rope climbs. Nothing blew them up. Now the key though is for everybody listening, if you go and you jump right into ropes right now and you haven't built a foundation of rows, pull-ups, multi-plane pulling, and then get to rope climbing, right? You're going to give yourself a raging case of elbow tendonitis.
Yeah, your elbows are going to
Going to be
burn,
just trapped.
disintegrate. Yep.
So, like anything else, you got to pay your dues. When you're on the rings, we need the grip turned out past parallel. Now, back in the day, Greg Glassman and I, Greg is he's a super bright guy, founder of CrossFit, but he just didn't understand why we would turn the rings past parallel. He thought it was just aesthetics. Coach, it's just aesthetics. Got to turn past parallel so that the brachialis is activated. Right? There's a reason that after all these years of CrossFit being on rings and doing thousands upon thousands of kipping pull-ups and dips and all this stuff, that there are no iron crosses unless they're a previous gymnast. Right? There's no homegrown CrossFitter who has an iron cross. There's no homegrown CrossFitter who has a planche or a malt, because right from the beginning on those very basic movements, they didn't turn past parallel. They didn't turn the rings out. The brachialis wasn't trained. The brachialis is what supports the elbow when it's straight. Mm-hmm. So if it never got trained, they can never move forward into the money-making exercises.